Welcome to the New World Order Showcase Podcast. Your host, Jill Hart, the Coach's Alchemist. Couldn't be more excited to have you join us today. On this podcast, we celebrate the champions of change, the up-and-coming life, health and transformational coaches who are fearlessly stepping forward to make a difference in the world. Get ready for inspiring stories, practical tips, and powerful moments that will motivate you to make a positive change in your life and those around you. We're happy to have you join us on this incredible journey as we dive into the world of life, health, and transformational coaches who are lighting up the path towards a better tomorrow.
Hi, and welcome to the New World Order Showcase podcast. With me today is Joe Burgess, who is a trauma recovery coach who helps people connect with their consciousness so they can thrive without limits. Welcome to the show, Joe.
Hi, nice to see you, Jill. Thank you very much for having me on your wonderful show.
It's great to have you here, and I'm going to actually ask you, we've done another interview together, so I've heard his story before, but because I think we have a whole new audience, let's go through it again. So tell us how you got started on your journey.
My journey started, it was a beautiful day. We were sailing and we were enjoying the beautiful day. Then my friends, long story short, my friends and I, we went out on the boat, picked it up. Then we had to pick up the sailboat and take it into town. I know this is a horrible storytelling process, and I'm jumping all over the place. But long story short, I jumped in my car. We pulled out onto the highway, and that's where the story really started, because my friends were behind me and a car passed my friends. And I had a car that was new to me, and it was a race car. And so this is like right in the middle of the story. So I'm like leaving everybody out in the dust with what I'm talking about. But they caught up to me and I didn't want to let them pass me. So I sped up and we started racing. We started racing for a couple of miles, and then we were going around a 90-degree curve. And the guy slammed down he pushed me into the gravel in the curve, in the inside of the curve, slammed down my brakes. I rolled my car going about 90 or 100 miles an hour 2 or 3 times into a farmer's field. My friends that were following, they went right on by because my battery had broke, so my headlights went out. Nobody had known that I was there except the people on the corner. They heard the tires squealing, so they jumped up and they saw the car rolling into the field. Guy ran out, jumped in his Bronco, shined his headlights on the car. I was in the passenger seat, so he was searching the field for a driver. And that's when the paramedics got there. They took me to the hospital. They called my mom and dad, said that they needed to get there as soon as they possibly could because I wasn't expected to make it through the night. Then literally I was hour to hour for the next couple of days. Then I was like, they give me 12 hours and they still didn't know. And so at one point after a few days, they told my parents they didn't know what was going to happen to me, if I was going to even come out of it, what was going to go on. During that time, that was when I was brain dead. I was literally a 3 on the Glasgow coma scale. So consciously, all of us walking around it, we're a 15 on the Glasgow coma scale. We're fully conscious. We're fully aware of all the stimulus, like our eyes dilating and all that kind of stuff, reacting to light, something coming at us, we blink our eyes, muscle contraction, all that kind of stuff, verbal response. We're all 15. A traumatic brain injury is anything 8 or lower. I was a 3, which was no response to any stimulus for 5 days. Because of that, that made me a survivor of a 99.9% mortality rate, which meant that there are 999 people who died where I was alive. That gave me my purpose. That once I discovered that, once I came across that statistic, that kind of made me here for a reason. I didn't know what that reason was, but I knew I was here for something. And so then I started studying psychology because I wanted to understand myself. I had to, why was I doing this? Why was I doing that? Why was I reacting like this? Why was I reacting like that? So I was just trying to understand myself. So I was obsessed with psychology. I didn't study it in educational format or anything because I didn't learn well at school, but I did very well at like asking a question or thinking of a question, then the answer would come to me, like whether it be a TV show or reading in a book or reading in a magazine, the answers would just pop up to me all the time. So that kind of got me into the whole spiritual aspect too, because around that time I was very into meditation. So I was very into the mind. So I was beginning to learn about all these different forms of meditation, all these different things you could do. And then I started to study self-hypnosis. And then I've had a focus on my mental health since my injury. I was very angry. I was very resentful. I was very bitter. I was very hurt. I was very scared. And so I didn't deal well with any of that stuff very well at all. My emotions were kind of all over the place. I couldn't control them. And
How old
then
were
when
you when that happened?
I was almost 19, it was 2.5 months after I graduated from high school. So as all my friends were going off to school and across the country and going to different colleges and universities and starting different jobs, I was literally fighting for my life. So I I have a disconnect from all of my classmates, all those people, because they did what they did, and I was in my head and myself. And then I had a fiance at the time, and then we broke up, and then I moved away to the Upper Peninsula of Michigan for 3 years to be with a girl, which was a huge kind of change in my life because I was kind of going crazy when I lived in the Lower Peninsula, and then when I moved up there, it was such a slower pace and such. I could go out to deer camp with my girlfriend's dad, and we'd be driving out there, and he'd see a deer and be like, where?" And he's like, "Right there." And he's, "Oh, there's a bear." "Oh, where? How do you see this stuff?" And he told me, he's like, "You have to look to observe rather than look to see." And that's kind of been something I've taken really like to heart, like ever since. Like that's stuck in my mind. It's like, so I started to do that with everything. So I don't look to see something when I'm looking at it. I look to observe. I look to, what is it? What's going on around it? It's not, because when I say see, that's my interpretation. But when I say observe, that's just my senses perceiving the stimulus. And so I don't know. I use specific words, very, very observe is like, we all observe. That's what makes us different, is because we have a different observation. You know, I, my nervous system has perceived the stimulus that it has perceived, which is the observation that I refer to. Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes total
Perfect.
sense.
Perfect. So I think actually in language that is universal. I don't I don't judge anybody or anything because it's not my place to do that. I don't walk in your shoes, and I never will. So I can't, it's not my place to put what I believe or what I think or what I feel on you. And so I have a problem with that because growing up, that's how I grew up with my family and my everybody around me. They always put everything that I had to be was what they were telling me and all that. So, and it never worked out well for me. So I I don't know.
They're
Yeah.
not here to have your journey.
Yeah. It's so many people, like, when I was in the hospital, doctors, and even after the hospital, doctors and the medical community, they always told me that this is what was going to happen. This is how it was and whatever. And it never worked for me because, first of all, they didn't know when I was going to walk. And suddenly on a Friday, I walked about 100 feet. And then over the weekend, some stuff happened to me. And on Monday, I walked over a quarter of a mile. And then my therapist had to make me stop because she had never seen anybody else do that before. So I went from 100 feet to over a quarter of a mile in just over a weekend. And nobody had ever seen that before. And none of my physical therapists, not my occupational therapist, nobody had ever seen, nobody could explain why I did that. I can explain now because I understand what went on in my brain and what happened, but that's my secret. So it's just, I mean, that's an amazing story. And also.
Hey all, I'm Jill Hart. We all know that legal matters can be costly and stressful. Finding the right representation and dealing with high retainers and hourly bills adds up fast. But what if I told you there was a way to have legal insurance, just like your health or auto insurance? Well, Legal Shield has leveled that playing field. From just $29.95 a month, you get access to lawyers for personal legal matters, from traffic tickets to real estate issues or even trust matters. Help is just a tap away on your phone. Call or text 435-764-0875 and use the code JillLegal or start your journey to legal protection today.
The whole thing when I learned self-hypnosis and hypnosis because of the fact that the medical field told me that I would never have impulse or compulsion control or anger control. So that I didn't like somebody telling me that I couldn't do something. So I took it personally and I found a way around it. I figured I knew the power of the mind because I had witnessed certain things that went on, like literally me manipulating something physical and something I couldn't see. And there was this is crazy, and I'm not asking anybody to believe it, but I was witness to it. I watched it because I did it. I was sitting there in a truck, in my ex-wife's truck, and there was a cloud in the sky, and it just popped in my head, blow up that cloud. So I focused on the cloud and I got into a rhythm. I started getting into a rhythmic breathing, and I started inhaling and then expanding and imagining and it blowing up in my mind and parts of it blowing up in my mind, all this stuff. And it did. And then, I mean, it was the only cloud in the sky. So it wasn't really, I'm sure, that difficult to do. But the fact that I literally started, it was fully formed cloud. Then when I was done, it was completely gone. It kind of it showed me that I had power, it showed me that I had the strength to do this amazing thing. And I can't ask anybody to believe that story because I personally wouldn't believe it if somebody told it to me. But then
I actually
again,
do believe it. I've had similar experiences in life, and if you've had experiences or if you've toyed with things in the environment, like controlling the environment,
yeah,
and succeeded, you begin to realize how much power you have over not only yourself, but your environment. Like there was a time when I was out in my backyard, doing something or another, and I wanted it to rain. If there really weren't any clouds in the sky, so this was like a big ask. And it did rain. It rained around my 5 feet. That was the only place, and it was definitely rain. It was like more than a drop or two. It was rain,
it
but it
was
was just over
yeah,
me. And
yeah.
then it left, and I laughed and laughed. It was the funniest thing I'd ever said.
That's funny because like I have a few stories like that. Is not rain per se, but I was after I discovered meditation and
Mhm.
I was obsessed with meditating. I wanted to do it everywhere. I wanted to test myself. I wanted to be in any kind of situation, and I wanted to conquer that situation so that I could say that I could do that where nobody else really does that. So I would go into the middle of a bar at 1 o'clock in the morning, and I'd blaring music, and I'd meditate for an hour. There, I'd be on a busy street at Christmas time, and people would be bustling up and down the streets and cars running all over the place, and I would be meditating. I'd meditate anywhere and everywhere. But back to the water, I was going through a very kind of spiritual growth in my moment in my life. And I walked into my house with my ex-wife behind me, and I I felt on my back water. And then I walked into the kitchen and I felt it again. She saw it like appear on my back. And that's one of those things where water just kind of splashed on me, if you will. When I was meditating, I went to a beach on Lake Michigan, and I was sitting there in Lotus for about an hour and a half. I was about hour and a half into it. I was swimming under about 2 feet under the water. Sun was shining through the rays. I could see the rays shining through the water as I was looking at down on my back. And I was sitting there swimming and swimming. And then I got done and I stood up and I literally wiped water away from my arms and flicked it off with my fingers. Then, even just this past week, I carried a notebook into the room that I'm sitting in right now, and there was water on it, and there was nowhere in between where it was and me getting here where there could have been water on it, but it was the energy and my state of mind that was, if you will, that I perceived it, because I'm very good at recognizing patterns, which we all are, because that's all of our reticular activating system. That's the part of our brain that tells us to focus on this because it's a pattern. So I'm good at, because I'm aware of that I am looking for this stuff, because I'm aware that signs, symbols, signals, all this stuff do exist. I do look for them. So I pay attention for them to occur, where most people don't even know that they do happen. So they're going to let it slip by. Well, I look for it because I know what I'm looking for. So that whole energy of the water splashing, yeah, I don't know. I just want to help people understand all this stuff so that all this cool stuff can happen to them. Because, to be honest with you, since I started meditation, my life has, I mean, I can't tell you how much better my life is because of all of the effort, work, and energy that I put into bettering myself. And although it's taken me 30 years to figure it all out, I know now how to do it in a much, much, much quicker time. Like, so that's about the whole basis for my coaching and my courses and my everything that I am is I want people to do it. The same thing I did. I just want them to do it a lot quicker because I know I can help them get there.
Yeah. And how do you help people? Are you doing courses right now?
I'm developing a course right now. It's an emotional resilience course. I'm talking to, his name, I can't even recall his name. People pop up into my existence when I feel like I'm supposed to be figuring out how to do stuff.
Mhm.
And then and I just met a guy who has a podcast about like different courses and all this kind of stuff. He's a businessman and stuff, but so he's kind of got my focus on my courses. I'm trying to figure it all out. It's emotional resilience, it's workbooks, it's one-on-one coaching, it's all kinds of stuff. I have big plans. I just have to figure out how to do it. My Substack is the best way to figure out. All my blog posts on there, I love that because I can talk about what I believe the relationship with God is. I can talk about what I think like electrical impulse is. I can talk about anything. It's wonderful. I love it there because it's just a great place to get my voice out.
It is a great place to
I
get
love
visible.
I love the community. I love a lot of people put a lot of work into their stuff, and they deserve attention that they should be getting.
So your Substack is flawedbutfearless111.substack.com. If anybody wants to go over there and visit Joe, you can do that there, and you could message him, and you can follow him, and you can subscribe to his content.
Yes,
and I think
yes.
he's going to be looking for beta readers here shortly.
Yeah,
So
yeah. For a couple of different books. One is Overachiever's Handbook. Kind of if you think you're an overachiever and you want to actually get more out of your life, because overachievers tend to spend a lot of energy on things that they don't necessarily need to be focused on. So if you can clear out all the clutter, then you can just get to where you're headed a lot quicker.
I love that. So Joe, what's the one thing you hope the audience takes away from our conversation today?
I hope that they will be the best version of themselves, because no matter what you've been through, you can always be a better version of yourself. Every single time you fall down, as long as you get up, that's the best that's the best or the worst you can ask for, I guess. I think I said that right. Sorry.
Get up, fall down 9 times, get up 10.
Yeah.
There you go. Thanks for joining me, Joe.
Thank you, dear. I appreciate you so much. You're a wonderful soul.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another empowering episode of the You World Order Showcase podcast. We hope you've enjoyed hearing from our incredible life, health, and transformational coaches who are making a profound impact on the world. Remember, change begins with you, and you have the power to transform your life and the lives of others. If you want to take that next step and unlock your true potential, visit thecoachesalchemist.com, where you can find the 3 ways we can help you for free to spin your talent into gold with clarity, a system, and a plan. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you never miss an inspiring episode. And if you enjoyed today's show, we'd greatly appreciate it if you could leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback means the world to us and helps us reach more people with our positive message. Stay connected with us on social media for updates, behind-the-scenes content, and upcoming guest announcements. You can find us on Facebook at the You World Order, or simply visit thecoachesalchemist.com.